back for another episode of the Cool Files. Whoa. We're back. We're back, baby. It's time to reveal the truth about what's really going on out there. This is going to be a crazy cool episode of the Cool Files. We're finally going to figure everything out on this one. We're finally going to figure everything out. Yay! I'm ready to figure everything out. This is getting insane. Thanks everybody for checking it out. We're diving into the files today. I don't know what we're going to find. Actually, I do know. Because we're going to tune in to a special broadcast here in a little bit. But first, we got to get to some... We don't really have any segments on the Cool Files. Don't really have an intro either, but this is the podcast that I'm sending over the RSS feed with my hacking abilities, getting it past the Nutcast filtering to bring it straight to your ears so that you can listen to it and we can talk about what's really going on. It's the Cool Files. This is going to be an interesting one. Should probably give a little recap of what happened last time. What happened last time? What did we talk about? Well, we played an episode, the first episode of the Rudecast, Mr. Rude Guy, and he interviewed Mitchell Head. Mitchell Head set us straight. He dropped some bombshell information about the dang Truth Seekers. What the heck were these guys up to? They hacked into Mitchell Head's stuff. They stole his posts from the Disclosure Hour, and I posted a screenshot of that so you can reminisce about the good old days when you used to be able to listen to Disclosure Hour. The Truth Seekers were wanting to silence Mitchell Head because if the word got out that the Oracle was a fraud, then they wouldn't be able to, all the followers would cast doubt. The Oracle is all about making predictions, hence the name. So he's always trying to make predictions, trying to get ahead of things, and the biggest prediction that Mitchell had ever made was co-opted, stolen by the Oracle, these bad guys, the Truth Seekers. But they're out there, they're like a cult kind of thing. They are recruiting members, so we got to get out there, we've got to spread the word and make sure that some of these potential cult members, the Truth Seeker cult, will know what's really the truth. Now, that's a little bit of what happened on the last Cool Files. I've been up to some stuff. I've been very busy. Okay? I've been making a website that I will be debuting very shortly. I still have some information to put in there. There's a lot of information, and this is something had been wanting to do for a long time. And everyone, when I release the link, we need it to keep it a big secret, or else Podnut Media will find out. They'll find out what we're up to. They won't like that. But if you're listening, if you've been a long-time listener, hopefully some of the stuff on this website will maybe clear up some of the loose ends that if you haven't connected the yarns yet, like I have. And if you have connected the yarns, we need people to comment on the post on Patreon and say that you've connected the yarns, because I feel like I'm losing my marbles here. I'm going nuts because all I think about now is Truth Seekers. What are they doing? What is Shogun Army going to say next? And I'm going nuts, and I don't know if anyone else has quite gone down the deep end like me. I've gone so far as to make a website It's got a handy-dandy chronology page that'll give you everything in the order that it happened and the corresponding episodes that you could go back and listen to. And that took a little bit of work, but it actually wasn't as hard as I'd thought. And I haven't made any, I'm probably not going to make any kind of compilation that you'd be able to listen to or anything, because that would be a lot of work. But you can check out the timeline and see when all these things happened. It'll all start to make sense, hopefully. We've got that, and then there's pages that talk about some of the different people involved. And there's a lot of them, so you'll get to read some biographies of some of your favorite players in the game of this crazy conspiracy. Couldn't really think of a good term. They're suspects, they're players, they're characters, but they're not characters because they're real. But they are characters because they're weird. And there's pictures, and you can see what everyone looks like and stuff. So that's the cool files. That'll be launching very soon. As soon as I can finish inputting some more information, I'm almost done. It looks great. It should hopefully win a web design award of some sort. That'd be kind of cool. What else can we talk about? We probably need to do a Kreb date. I was hoping to getting to call in, but I've only been able to reach him via text, so some of our texting back and forth, trying to see what he's up to, because we know that the Hottest Stuff podcast hasn't been updated. I think they took some episodes down, or maybe the whole thing. Let me look and see here. Let's see, Nutcast, Hottest Stuff, and yeah, it looks like they've taken down most of the episodes. So I was texting with Kreb. What's going on? What happened to the episodes? I didn't tell him about the education program, as people know that. I felt really conflicted about it. Even on one of the segments, I kind of hinted at some of my conflicting feelings about it. But Kreb said that he didn't go through with it. He said that he started the re-education program. It was really freaky. It freaked him out, and he didn't want to do it. And that's a smart move, except I don't know what that means for him. Hope everything is okay. They took the podcast down, and I know he's upset about that, because that's, he loves doing podcasting. So I hope that he can get that back. But he's going to have to do the re-education program, I think, in order to get that to happen. So I kind of hinted at, if something weird's going on, something crazy's going on, and I'm kind of slow playing some of the information, slipping it to him piece by piece. All he really needs to know is about Podnut Media, and as far as I can figure out, we haven't really learned anything about what Podnut Media is doing and how they're involved with this crap. It's insane. Why am I going through with this stuff? I just came on here to do a podcast, not to be harassed and not to have the terrorists kidnap my friends. Mr. Rude Guy. Mitchell Head, I don't know. He's not really my friend, but he did help us out a lot. He was the one who gave us the dirt on Mr. Rude Guy way back about a year ago, which is kind of crazy. You can see the timeline. You can see when all this stuff happened. So I've got all the information rolling around, bouncing around in my head, in my Mitchell head. So I feel like I'm going crazy here, but I'm glad I can share it with everyone with some of this crazy stuff. Looking for the bonk sound. Bonk. Enough of this funny stuff. This is supposed to be a serious show, not a funny, weird show. We've got everything's optimized and ready to go for the stream. All the drivers have been updated. So we're going to get into this. This is kind of cool. Samurai Kid's actually doing a live stream here starting in a few minutes, and we're going to tune into that. That'll probably be the majority of the show, because he's the guy who's got all of the good info. The Shogun Army, of course, are compiling their data, but as you know, there are a lot of members now. You probably looked at the Reddit. You can tell there's a ton of people. Everyone's got a theory. It's kind of going out of control over there. It's nuts. So I think Samurai Kid's trying to put out a message to his followers and say, here's the official thing. Here's what we believe. We can't go around slandering people. There was kind of a controversial thread that I think he'll talk about Mr. Rude Guy, and he's trying to get some more details on that. But it's a special Zoom conference call kind of thing with Samurai Kid through his Patreon, and I was able to get a link to it from, I can't say where, but we are going to tune into that. And Samurai Kid's going to update us. Supposedly he's connected everything together, and I hope you have too. Good Lord. Like I said, if you've connected the yarns, please leave a comment that you've connected the yarns. If you need me to help you connect the yarns, I'm happy to do an AMA on the Discord. Ask me anything. I'll get in the voice chat. Ask me anything about the Truth Seekers. Ask me anything about freaking the time that, Samurai Nation Podcast Network got shut down. I think Samurai Kid's going to talk about that too. I don't know that for sure, but I do know that what he's been doing, and I'll preface it with this, is what he has been doing is trying to connect the Truth Seekers and the Serpent's Sons and something else together to give a comprehensive overview of what happened with shutting down the network and where that leaves things now going forward with Samurai Nation, Shogun Army. I think they're one and the same. He had a little bit of a preview saying he was going to get some updates from Mr. Rude Guy, then he was going to connect everything, that he'd built out his timeline that was going to go through and hopefully explain all of this crazy stuff. And there's some new information that no one knows about. So I'm going to keep this music going here, and we're going to tune into the stream. I'm probably not going to say anything else. I want to hear all the information, get it out there. I hope he's okay with me recording and publishing his private Zoom with the Shogun Army, but we'll see.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Are we live? Okay guys. Oh man, this is so exciting. This is really exciting. Hey everybody out there, it's the Samurai Kid, Shogun Army. Thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks to all the Shogun Army patrons. This is a new thing that we've been doing. People can subscribe at different levels. You've got the Shogun, you've got the Super Shogun, and you've got the Mighty Sword as sort of the top tier. So our Mighty Swords are in here. I see you guys. Yes. Everyone's muted right now, but thanks for doing the slicing and dicing. And I love that. I love what you're doing there with the sword. That's awesome. Oh man, thanks guys. And there's a few ladies in here too. Thanks for joining in. Thanks to the patrons for helping put in the time and effort to get this thing off the ground. I'm really, really glad that we have a platform that has a little bit of privacy, a little more privacy, that we can have some of these discussions together. Of course, I'm going to go through some of this information, and then we'll have a little bit of a Q&A afterwards that I think will help inform people, and I can answer some questions. The Patreon platform allows us, and the Zoom platform also allows us to have some of that secrecy, and it helps us with some of the organizing stuff as well. I was starting to get a little bit nervous about having the Shogun Army Reddit out there for everyone to see, specifically thinking about, what if the Truth Seekers saw this? We want their members to see this information, but we also don't want them to come after us. Hopefully, we're working on a plan to maybe, I won't say anything, but we're trying to move things forward in a way that we can finally stop the Truth Seekers and the brainwashing that they're doing to some of their members. And we'll have a big announcement coming up soon. We're going to have a big event with the Shogun Army that's going to be amazing. So that'll be coming up here in a couple of weeks or so. We'll make that announcement. But anyway, I know a lot of people will just go ahead and get into it. I know a lot of people have been waiting for me to come out and really connect everything together. People have been going back and forth discussing some of the stuff on the Shogun Army Reddit, and frankly, a lot of the theories that have been going on out there are incorrect, going down some different paths that I'm not totally comfortable with, although I love people theorizing and trying to come up with some of their own conclusions to this puzzle. That's basically what it is. But I also want to make sure that everyone understands that this is how it is. I've connected everything. I know what happened. A lot of the people helping me with some of the documents, we've experienced this firsthand, the truth seekers and what they've done. And so we're the ones who can connect things together, and we'd like to make sure that everyone kind of follows along with the narrative that we have. And don't harass anyone. Don't try to dox people. Please stop doing that. It doesn't make us look good. That's also another reason why we kind of need to keep things on the down low a little bit. Some people are getting a little too excited about this, but it is exciting. I'm excited tonight to be here and to finally connect some of these things together. So anyway, one of the theories out there has to do with Mr. Rude Guy, who's a friend of mine, and people thinking that maybe he'd been bought out by the truth seekers or something like that. And I have had my doubts about Mr. Rude Guy before, but he's also a good guy. We've been communicating back and forth, and I listened to his podcast. That's where this all started, the Rudecast, his interview with Mitchell Head. It provided a ton of good information. It's helped us strengthen our case against the truth seekers, and a lot of the information contained in the interview has gone into the files that we have been compiling together, and we'll release all of that as well so that you can see, the timeline and everything that we've set up. But people have been theorizing some things about Mr. Rude Guy that I can't say that I agree with. But I did reach out to him for some questions because I was a little bit frustrated hearing some of this information that he put forward and knowing that some of the stuff that he said was withheld from me, and I would have liked to have known some of this stuff about the truth seekers and what they were up to, especially since what they ended up doing and shutting down the network and all of that. So it would have been really great to know some of that stuff that they had talked about and not really hearing it in the form of a podcast. But anyway, I did reach out to Mr. Rude Guy with some of my questions, and so I'm going to play this clip really quick where he answers some of the questions. So here we go.
Hey, what's up, Samurai Kid? Thanks for reaching out. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I know it was really tough the way things went down with the Samurai Nation podcast network, and there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of us didn't really know about, including me. So I'm happy to set the record straight with some of the questions that you sent in, and I'm really glad that you listened to the Rootcast as well. I wish that someday I could come on and we could do another podcast together. That was pretty cool when I came on the Dojo podcast. I guess to answer some of your questions about what happened and my involvement with the Ukrainian attack is that, first of all, a lot of the stuff that we talked about in the podcast with me and Mitchell Head was stuff that I really didn't even know about. See, Mitchell Head was in a really bad place after the attack. He was in this catatonic state where he couldn't even talk or do anything, almost like a coma. So they had to really do a lot of work to get him back up and running and feeling good again so that he would even talk and explain like what happened and stuff. Then after that, of course, Galaxium. Another thing was that Galaxium, they were in a lot of trouble for doing that raid, like going into the Ukraine and rescuing the hostages like that. The international community, including the EU and Russia, was really pissed off that they did that right under their noses, like took the glory from them. So even if you read news articles about that time, like the details and stuff aren't even right. It's weird. Like they don't even mention some of the stuff that actually happened there. They twist the details in a really weird way. And I don't know, maybe like the government's told them to do that, or maybe someone else got to them. It was kind of strange. So a lot of the details, it took them a long time to come out, specifically with Mitchell Head and some of the stuff that happened on the raid. So that's what I can say about that. Galaxium had us under a pretty tight contract, a non-disclosure agreement, if you're familiar with that. And once that expired, we were able to do the podcast and release the first episode. But prior to that, man, I really didn't know anything. I thought for sure that you had helped out and like you had saved the day, you somehow had negotiated. And then slowly I figured out what really happened and was like, whoa, this is crazy. So as far as how I ended up at the conference, that's something I didn't really want to go into at all because it was kind of embarrassing to talk about. You know, I don't really do much gamer streaming anymore, but at the time I was like way into it and was trying to get a lot of viewers. So I went to the conference with the intention of breaking in and doing my own gamer talk and trying to get them to let me do this talk, you know, something to get people riled up and to cause a little bit of controversy, you know. So that's in the video when I'm talking about how I'm going to give the gamer conference. I wasn't even scheduled at the freaking conference and people were pissed. The organizers were trying to kick me out. So in the video, the banging on the door that you hear, that's actually the security guards from the conference coming to boot me out on the street. And they definitely did that. They kicked me out big time, and that's actually when I ran into the Bergmans from the YouTube show, and when I met up with Mitchell Head. By that point, I wasn't streaming anymore. I had just signed off and was not feeling too good about it. And then all this stuff went down. Man, if I had caught that on video, that would have been crazy. That would have really got a lot of viewers. Thanks for letting me tell my part of the whole story and getting some things cleared up for you. I hope you can understand like where I'm coming from, and I definitely want to see the Samurai Nation Podcast Network come back in full force. I'm totally into what the Shogun Army and stuff is doing. I've been watching and reading all the posts and stuff, and I'm really glad that together we can like get the story out there for real, man. So anyway,
Okay, that's the message from Mr. Rude Guy. I believe most of what he says. I know that a lot of the news articles that came out around that time did give some different information, conflicting information, and at the same time, there was not a lot of people reporting what was going on. So it does kind of make sense that maybe some fake news had leaked through to some of those news outlets. Specifically, there was the Moldovan Weekly Reporter or something, which I can't even find that website anymore. So it may have been like a total farce. What I had been saying this whole time, though, about the Ukrainian attack is that it was a psyop of sorts. So we're going to get into that and explain how all of that stuff happened. Oh, man. So let's get into it. Thanks to Mr. Rude Guy also for sending that message. It really means a lot that he's on our side, and I hope that we can connect together sometime. Oh, we've got his video too. He talked about how they were banging on his door and stuff. So here's the clip of him streaming and at the gamer conference. So let's watch this.
What's up, everybody? It's Mr. Rude Guy here. I'm at the Center for Technology in Kiev, Ukraine, ready to give my talk as part of the Eastern European Gaming Conference. It's going to be sick. I'm going to be talking all about how to grow your follower base as a gamer streamer. I can't wait to give my talk and to say everything that I need to and to help bring some more followers into the Rude Guy Nation. It's going to be... Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm in the bathroom. Okay, stop. Choose. Oh, what the frick?
He was streaming from the bathroom. You got to be careful doing that. I think that's against the Twitch terms of service or something. Although I think he'd been streaming on like a Russian streaming network or something. So I guess it was all just like a big stunt for him to get on and do his gamer talk. Because some of that stuff was kind of conflicting with what he said. He didn't really even mention that he was giving this talk. So I was like, what the heck? What do you mean? You just showed up and then you got abducted? Well, some other stuff happened too. Anyway, okay, let me do this. This is going to be a lot. This is going to be a lot of information. Okay, here we go. So, we know that the truth seeker information that has come out recently was that they were trying to do away with disclosure hour evidence. And the last shred of evidence was at the Samurai Nation Podcast Network. So how did that get there? Well, it all started with this podcast hosted by a guy who I don't really talk to anymore, but he had played a clip of the Disclosure Hour podcast, and it was one of the first couple of episodes. So that was sort of the last shred of evidence, I think, that the truth seekers were trying to get rid of. We've got a lot of proof now about how the Oracle, he was a big fraud. And now let's see if we can get into the timeline and show the events about how they happen. Because that's when things start going off the rails, is when I'm trying to explain, oh, the Truth Seekers and the Serpent Sons were doing this and doing that. And it gets really confusing. So to really show how the Truth Seekers manipulated the situation and how they tried to bend reality to fit their point of view and frame me in the process. We have to go into the timeline and kind of work backwards. So it kind of comes down, again, to this podcast that had hosted the Disclosure Hour. I don't think that this guy was involved, the guy who hosted the podcast, because I'm pretty sure he's not smart enough to really even get into some of this stuff. I'm pretty sure he was being manipulated too, but some people have their theories about this, whether he was involved with the Truth Seekers, but I'm not sure. I'm not really convinced of that. I'm grateful that he was there to talk about the Disclosure Hour podcast, and that's kind of how I started to get involved with this stuff, is learning a little bit more about some conspiracies, and when the Truth Seekers showed up to give some of their messages is when it really opened my eyes of like, who the heck are these guys? So this podcaster, and specifically, he was involved with this big lawsuit with another guy from another network, another idiot. Anyway, I hate that guy. Big Jim is his name. Anyway, one of the outcomes of the case was that this guy, Big Jim, would own the podcast. It's called The Cool Podcast, and he would own all the intellectual information. So there was this big lawsuit, all right? They wanted to have the information from the podcast, which included a laptop. Okay, man, I'm starting to... Okay, I need to calm down. This is... Let me just scroll through and see who's out there. Let me give some shout-outs. Hey, there's Ninja Master 4, and hey, there's Darkwave 27. Hey guys, whew! I need to get pumped up here. I'm looking at my notes and making sure everything's in the right place. Okay, so he got involved with this lawsuit, and at the time I looked into the lawsuit, and I pretty much thought it was all a fiction from this podcast, the Cool Podcast. I thought it was a joke. Most of Samurai Nation, they were also thinking that this is some kind of meta narrative, that it's some kind of funny thing that this guy's making up about this lawsuit. But then when we got the subpoena at the office is when we really knew that this was serious. They wanted the laptop, and they wanted it like soon. So I decided, with the help of Paradox, who was doing IT stuff for us, I thought for security reasons, we probably should wipe the laptop before we give it to them. Now, I'm not sure of the legality of that, and actually that was another thing going on in the case, is erasing the laptop and then giving it to them was kind of like we were destroying the information, but we were somehow able to sort that out thanks to Podnut Media. Once we wiped the information on the laptop, though, Paradox, he uploaded that copied image of the laptop onto the servers, because we didn't want to lose any of those episodes. We liked to keep everything backed up on the servers. And then the Truth Seekers showed up. I'm looking at the timeline here. They started communicating with the host of that show I was talking about. They were talking about the Serpent Sons. And actually, they were the ones who gave us the name of Henry Wong and the Basilisk Holding Corp, which we'll get into. The Truth Seekers actually provided the evidence there. They gave us that name, which is definitely a key to look into. I think they were trying to throw us off by, we're going to look into this other thing. So they were trying to say that Henry Wong, Basilisk Holding Corp were funding the lawsuit against Beowulf to get the laptop to find the Oracle, okay? And then after that came the Ukrainian hostage situation that we just talked about with Mr. Rude Guy, another unknown American citizen, which turned out to be Mitchell Head. At the time, we didn't really know any of that. We just knew Mr. Rude Guy, that he was streaming at the time. We caught that, and we knew what had happened. But even the news articles at the time didn't name anyone specifically. There was an article about how Mitchell Head had gone missing, but other than that, people really didn't know what was going on. We just had this clip of his stream. So then we got the message from the Serpent Sons. Okay, I hope everyone's keeping track of this stuff, because there's a lot to keep track of. Let me see if I can find the clip here. Oh gosh, there's so many files and so much stuff going on. It's crazy on my computer. I've got documents, I've got everything you could ever need to get to the bottom of this stuff. Serpent Sons. Okay. The Serpent Sons, they sent a message. Oh, frick, I can't find it. Frick. Anyway, they sent us a message saying that it was a hostage situation, and that they wanted the Oracle's identity, okay? At the time, I thought Mitchell Head was the Oracle, right? And he's already refuted that he wasn't. But as we know, the Serpent Sons, they had already had Mitchell Head in their custody, just like he said on the Rudecast. So what the heck was going on? And who recorded this weird voice message? And I wish I could find it right now, but I'm having a little bit of trouble with the computer. I hope all my files are secure here, because this is some big information. Oh, I think I'm getting close to it. Can everyone, let me just share my screen here. Here it is, the Serpent Sons message. We're going to play this, and you'll hear, this is the Serpent Sons, allegedly.
Greetings, Beowulf. We are the Serpent Sons. We have
This was
been
their
waiting
message.
for your response to our messages. Perhaps you've not taken our request seriously. It would be such a pity if something terrible happened to your friend, Mr. Rude Guy. Perhaps we should remove one of his fingers or an ear.
Oh my gosh, these guys were sick. So who recorded that message exactly? Was that the Serpent Sons? We're not sure, but we can get to the bottom of it here if we get back to our timeline. So let's go back to Henry Wong. Now this guy was behind the Basilisk Holding Corp, as we said. The Truth Seekers gave us this information. They funneled money to get all the information on Mitchell Head from the laptop, okay? We've covered that. So we learned from Mitchell Head that the Serpent Sons were after Gold Cobra. And I guess that they thought Mitchell Head maybe had some information. Now what we've recovered from the servers, there's nothing about the Gold Cobra at all in the Clips of Disclosure Hour podcast or his website. Mitchell Head didn't know anything about Gold Cobra. So what the heck was this lawsuit all about? What's the connection? We need to get back to Henry Wong. Henry Wong was an intern with Zoom Dragon. He was living in Bristol, England. As far as we know, he was somehow he was entrusted with the shell company Basilisk Holding Corp, which was funneling money to further Zoom Dragon's interest on Earth while they were gone. So one of our English members of the Shogun Army, he was actually able to find some money transfers from Basilisk Holding Corp, the BHC, to various hired hitmen, mafia thugs, and criminals from countries such as Ukraine, Estonia, Hungary, Slovenia, and now just think about that. Could these be the real Serpent Sons? These were probably the guys behind the attack, these gangster guys. A bunch of goons out there. They were paid with this dirty reptilian money. The dates on here are actually from around the time of the Ukrainian hostage situation. So clearly they were planning for this attack in Ukraine around the same time as these lawsuits that I'm talking about with the BHC. Meanwhile, we have evidence that puts the Queen Snake in Budapest. Now, she was Jackie Mondragon's right-hand woman. She was going out and doing this stuff where she makes an appearance here. We think she was probably in outer space or something. I'm not really sure. But she makes an appearance in Eastern Europe around this time, before the attack, okay? So we have some evidence here that she's in the area of Budapest, okay? She was apparently in this underground nightclub in the red light district, and we've got some reports from people saying that they recognize her picture, that she was this woman named Melina Kygo. Okay, so we've got Henry Wong. He's moving money around before the Ukrainian attack to these thug guys, these gangster dudes. And then we've got the Queen Snake in the same city of a few of these gangster guys, too. So clearly this proves that the Queen Snake and the gangsters paid for by the BHC, they were behind this Ukrainian attack. So our next question could be, we have to go back to Henry Wong again. This guy is very important to the story, and what I'm going to reveal now is not good about him. So we haven't heard from him at all since this attack. No one can find, no one knows anything about him. What's he doing now? And this should tell you all you need to know. Unfortunately, we've got an article from November of last year. Bristol, England, a local man was found dead on Redcliffe Street early Wednesday morning. Authorities determined that the man jumped out his fifth-story apartment window to his death. Henry Wong, 22 years old, was a student at Bristol University studying computer science. He was 22 years old, and he died. That's terrible, man. Like, a lot of us, we're young guys, and I know there's some people around that age, including myself, because I'm a little bit older than that, but this guy was, well, he lost his life, and that's terrible. We don't really want to see that, ever. The authorities came in and said this was all an accident, right? He fell out of his second-story window. It was all just a terrible accident. Well, his family, apparently, they don't believe that at all. They don't believe the findings that the police came up with, and they've launched their own investigation. And we've actually been in contact with them, and we're trying to do a little bit of fundraising to help further the efforts to figure out who these people are. Their conclusion, based on the coroner's report, and I don't know, they probably call it something different over there in England, but the coroner determined that there was some kind of foul play. There's even a little bit of evidence in his apartment. His family went in after the police came in. They found more evidence, took some more photos that had hinted that there was maybe some kind of struggle. Things were broken, things were pushed around. It looked like there was like a fight of some sort. It wasn't just that he freaking fell out of a window. I mean, come on. These people can't even get this stuff straight. There was also some security footage, too, of these two dark figures found on the security camera mere minutes before his death. Oh my gosh. These guys, they're cloaked in black. You can see them. They're running down the street. These guys broke into Henry Wong's apartment. We can't identify their faces, unfortunately, because it's all shadowy and dark, but I'm almost positive that these were the Queen Snake's henchmen, her goons, that she used with his money, or the BHC's money, the Basilisk Holding Corp that I was talking about earlier. See, what happened was Henry made a big mistake. Henry Wong, R.I.P. He trusted some of the least trustworthy people out there. The people who claim to believe in the truth, that are truth tellers. He believed that the truth seekers were on his side. And I'm not talking about just the regular followers, the brainwashed people that they've brainwashed. I mean, whoever is really behind the scene at the truth seekers. It's not just the Oracle. There's other people who are coordinating these things together. It's like a cabal of people. The people that were behind stealing Mitchell Head's posts, the people that were creating this new Oracle, these masterminds. Henry was clearly looking for Mitchell Head. Clearly, because he wanted to find Gold Cobra, of course. The truth seekers knew where the last scrap of information was about Mitchell Head on the laptop that I was talking about from Beowulf, the guy from the Cool Podcast. They were somehow able to get to Henry Wong and convince him to fund this lawsuit against this podcast. And the thing is, it almost worked. They almost had the freaking laptop, but we wiped it. We wiped the laptop. We did the work for them. Like, how the heck were they able to do that? But then they found out there was another copy. We backed up the copy on the servers, remember? So they almost got away with it with us involved. Like, you can see it here on the timeline. That could have been the end of it. They had erased the Oracle. And they were the ones doing the message of the Serpent Sons. This is what's insane. These aren't the Serpent Sons. The Serpent Sons are these guys from... They may not have even spoken English. They may have had a crazy accent. But this guy...
Beowulf, we are the Serpent Sons.
This sounds like this guy's from freaking England. Even sounds like he's like one of the guys in the Beatles.
Perhaps you've not taken our request seriously. It would be such a pity if something terrible happened to your friend, Mr. Rude Guy.
This is the Truth Seekers. These guys are sending the fake messages pretending to be the Serpent Sons. They knew about the Serpent Sons from Henry Wong. They were clearly buddies. I don't know how the Truth Seekers even got to Henry Wong either. Like, maybe he was a family member. He was a friend. He was someone who was in a class with Henry Wong. He figured out this guy was holding this Zoom Dragon money somehow. They maybe found his name on the BHC records. And then next thing you know, they're buddies. The Truth Seekers knew about Serpent Sons. Okay, they had gotten info from Henry Wong, and they used it to impersonate the Serpent Sons and give us this stupid message.
Perhaps
This isn't even real.
remove one of his fingers.
This is crazy. These aren't the freaking Serpent Sons. They were impersonating him, and they were blackmailing me with this information. This is what I'm saying. They baited me and by creating this whole scheme that I would give them the identity of the Oracle to free Mr. Root Guy, okay? Because they knew the information was on the server. They knew it the whole time. They knew that we backed it up. They figured it out. And they knew that if they sent this fake message and said, you have to free Mr. Rude Guy, they were playing on my emotions. Like they probably have watched my streams and they knew that we had this history together. And they said, we'll just capture this guy. So, I mean, we also don't really know how did Mr. Rude Guy end up at this conference. Like, think about that. That's what's insane. They were probably the ones telling Mr. Rude Guy to go to the conference in the first place. They were working together with Henry Wong and the Serpent Sons, is what I'm saying. This is absolutely insane. They created this whole scheme. I didn't know that I was dealing with the Truth Seekers. Like, I went on the dark web. I was trying to funnel some bitcoins to them to help pay off the ransom, which I did. I paid the ransom, supposedly, for Mr. Rude Guy. But then he got rescued by Galaxium. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And like, I didn't even know or understand what was going on. I thought that he'd been freed the normal way with the ransom that the Serpent Sons gave him up. Oh my gosh, this is so insane. Then they blamed me, okay? They blamed me. They said that I released the identity of the Oracle because I thought Mr. Rude Guy was a goner, you know, that he'd been captured by the Serpent Sons. They were pulling the puppet strings on me this whole freaking time. I was dealing with the Truth Seekers, not the Serpent Sons. And then when I couldn't... Oh my gosh. When I said that Mitchell Head was the Oracle, I was telling it to the Truth Seekers. And that was their reason, that was their excuse to go in and hack the server and put on this crazy ransom, another ransom on top of that. Oh my gosh. They put the craziest ransom. They hacked the Samurai Nation Podcast Network servers, and they took us down with their lies. I am so freaking pissed about this. When I go through the timeline and I read it, I'm laying awake at night. I'm sweating. I'm having nightmares thinking about the Truth Seekers. Okay, they got everything they wanted out of this. How is this freaking possible? These are bad guys. They're lying. They're spreading fake news. Like, they're terrible. But they got all the stuff that they wanted. They got the information about the Oracle. They were the ones who betrayed Henry Wong. Okay? And the Queen Snake betrayed Henry Wong. He was a patsy just like me. I feel for this guy. He's dead, man. Henry Wong is dead because of the Truth Seekers and because of the freaking Queen Snake. The Oracle, he got everything. You know, like I said earlier, he makes his money, he makes his bones off of making predictions, right? He learned information about the Serpent Sons, including the attack. We've got screenshots. We have posts from the Oracle predicting the attack, saying this big thing is going to happen in Ukraine. Everyone watch. Get out your freaking popcorn. The snake is ready to strike, and I'm sure their membership went through the roof for that. But he knew about it from Henry Wong. He had found this information. He used this guy. He used him to do the lawsuit against this guy, the podcaster guy, Beowulf. He used the money to do the lawsuit to try to get the laptop, and that didn't work. And then he used the Serpent Sons again to freaking do this blackmail scheme against me. And meanwhile, the Serpent Sons, there wasn't even any kind of freaking... There wasn't anything against the Serpent Sons and the Truth Seekers. You know? They created this whole they created a whole alternate reality, is what they did. They didn't have anyone to fight against anymore. They didn't have Zoom Dragon. They didn't have the Reptilians. The Serpent Sons didn't give a crap about the Truth Seekers. There wasn't any rivalry going on, but they had to create this reality. They had to say, now we're fighting against the Serpent Sons. They're the bad guys. And meanwhile, they're behind the scenes and they're helping them. And they're friends with Henry Wong. And they were friends, and then they betrayed him. Now he's dead, just like I said. Okay. The Serpent's sons, they didn't give a crap about the Truth Seekers. All they wanted was Gold Cobra. They didn't give a crap about the Oracle, didn't give a crap about the Truth Seekers. The Oracle was creating the new reality about fighting the Serpent's sons. It's just insane. He created this alternate reality and we played into the trap. All of us. Henry Wong, me, everyone. Henry got caught in the trap. He trusted the Truth Seekers and the Oracle, and he paid for his life. And then in the midst of all of that, he wasn't even going after Mitchell Head. He wanted Gold Cobra. This is what it all comes down to. Gold Cobra. That's all he wanted. That's all that the Queen Snake wanted. That's all she wanted was Gold Cobra. That's all they can talk about. That's all they're talking about. And in the meantime, the Truth Seekers get yet another piece of information that's going to help them even more than you can imagine, that can make this thing worse for everybody. They can ruin everything if they get Gold Cobra. The Truth Seekers learned about Gold Cobra from Henry Wong. They learned about the Serpent Sons. They got their damn lawsuit. They found out about me and my servers. And now they know about Gold Cobra. And Henry Wong is gone. He's dead. We can't even talk to him. We don't know what happened. I would be friends with this guy. He could be on our side. We could talk to him, but he's dead. He knows all this information. The Queen Snake offed him. She killed him. She assassinated Henry Wong because she knew that he had let the information slip, that he wasn't doing the job that she needed him to do to get the Gold Cobra. He had effed up by talking to the Truth Seekers, and she knew that he had to go. She betrayed him. The Truth Seekers betrayed him. The Truth Seekers betrayed me. I feel like I'm Henry Wong now. I'm the one who's going to go down in this. That's why we have to stop the Truth Seekers, everybody. We have to stop them in their tracks. Because if they get Gold Cobra, we are, and I'm sorry to say this, I don't usually cuss. If the Truth Seekers get Gold Cobra, we're fucked, everybody. That will change the course of everything. The whole world, everyone on Earth is fucked if the Truth Seekers get Gold Cobra. Jesus Christ. This is so serious, you don't even understand. You understand. Everyone in Shogun Army understands, but no one else, no one in the fake news understands Gold Cobra is going to ruin the Earth. If the Oracle gets Gold Cobra, we are fucked. This is insane, guys. This is the biggest thing, and no one's talking about it. Now, we just have to find Gold Cobra. We have to find it. The Truth Seekers are looking. I think they're getting close. Okay? I think the Truth Seekers are so close to getting Gold Cobra that this could be the thing that ends everything. And I think you know what I'm talking about, too. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I shouldn't have to say it. But I think I need to say it. I think I need to lay this out here. At this point, first of all, we need justice for Henry Wong. The Oracle needs to go to prison forever. He needs to be locked up. And the people behind the Truth Seekers need to be locked up. And the Queen Snake, she needs to be gone. She needs to go off to her reptilian friends and get out of here. We don't want her anymore. Guys, this is going to scare people. The Truth Seekers are so close to getting Gold Cobra. It's absolutely insane. What we're really looking for, what we really need to do now, well, I'll just say this. We found Gold Cobra, guys. I wasn't going to say this on the stream, but I'm so jacked up and I need everyone to be at my level. We need to be ready to fight. What is Gold Cobra? Who created it? Jackie Mondragon. Where is the Gold Cobra now? Who has it? Who was her friend? Who was she closest with? Who was dealing with her this whole time? Christopher Schmidt! I'm telling you right now, everybody, Podnut Media is the Gold Cobra! We figured it out! And the Truth Seekers are so close to getting the They're so close to getting the Gold Cobra. And if they do, we are done. And we have to fight the Truth Seekers. We have to go out and we have to make sure if they get any closer to Podnut Media and they get into those servers and they figure out how to make that AI go into freaking overdrive and they unlock what needs to be unlocked, guys, we are fucked. We have to stop the Truth Seekers from getting to Podnut Media, because in those servers, in those headquarters of Podnut Media is an AI that can destroy the freaking world. And the last person that we need in there piloting this thing and uploading his freaking brain into the freaking the artificial intelligence is the Oracle. The Oracle is a bad guy, and if he gets Gold Cobra, then we are done, guys. That would be the worst thing to ever happen. If the Oracle gets this weapon that was created by Zoom Dragon, these evil bastards, these evil reptilians, a guy who's just as evil and just as pernicious and just as charismatic and someone who can brainwash the entire world, who's been doing it this whole time, creating his alternate reality, that would be the Oracle and the people who are behind the Oracle and the people who are behind the Truth Seekers. They could create the freaking Matrix if we don't watch out, guys. They could fold a reality into itself and flip it around and turn it on, and we wouldn't even know what the frick is going on, because they have one of they are so close to Gold Cobra, guys. They are so freaking close. They're in Vermont right now. The Oracle is doing a podcast at Podnut Media. Christopher Schmidt is there. They're friends. All he needs to do is go into that headquarters, figure out how to turn the AI around and work for him, and we are fucked, everybody.